We're now being joined live via Zoom from Modi'in by Lieutenant Colonel in the Reserves, Eyal Dror, the former IDF officer, as well as the founder and commander of the Good Neighbor campaign. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. And first, let's start with this top story and how discouraging it must be to see how the world has reacted when Israel has been saying all along that Palestinians are also victim to the terror group of Hamas.
Good afternoon, Emily. A serious question. Is anyone surprised from that? Anyone that knows the Palestinian arena? We know for years that this is what is going on. This is the routine. Since the day of 2014, I remember that they were executed in the streets of Gaza, people who claim to stop the clashes when it was Operation Protecting Age. This is how the Hamas system, by the way, sometimes always the PA system works. They are torturing, they are capturing and torturing people who, let's say, not going with their agenda. It can be, for example, people that they think that they claim something against the regime. It can be people that they blame in a collaboration with Israel. It can be, by the way, also people belonging to the LGBTQ community, which is, of course, something that it is seen by the Hamas authorities. They are capturing them, they are torturing them days and nights. And you can see, I think, even how evil it is. The people that are torturing them, sitting on their chairs, reading the papers, enjoying life, and people are suffering. Unfortunately, it is not new for anyone who knows that arena. And I'm just sorry for being cynical, but I'm sure that some of the, let's say, foreign magazines will claim that, according to Hamas research, hanging a person on his head down, it's something that's good to his health. Unfortunately, I will not see the word shouting and say its rage against that. But again, it's something very unnew for us, the people who understand how the system goes.
But for the world to see this behavior just adds to the the truth behind what we have always known. We'll be back with you in a short while. Don't go anywhere. We're now going to be talking about the latest with the hostages, with today marking 401 days since the 101 hostages have been in captivity in the tunnels of Gaza, with last night's weekly rally in Tel Aviv hitting a fever pitch as thousands of protesters marked the 400-day mark. Now with news coming out of Qatar suspending its mediation role in the hostage and truce talks, the fate of the hostages appears to be looking bleak once again. Here's more in this next report by I24 News correspondent Lynn Plachmeyer.
Qatar has confirmed that its ceasefire mediation efforts are currently stalled. A statement released by the Qatari Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the state of Qatar will not accept that mediation be a reason for blackmailing it, as we have witnessed manipulation since the collapse of the first pause and the women and children exchange deal, especially in retreating from obligations agreed upon through mediation and exploiting the continuation of negotiations to justify the continuation of the war to serve narrow political purposes. The Foreign Ministry also denied earlier reports that the country has told the Hamas leadership to leave Qatar per US request. On Sunday, thousands took to the streets of Tel Aviv, marking 400 days since the October 7 onslaught and mass abduction, and demanding the release of all of the hostages.
We have reached the unimaginable 400th day that our loved ones are held captive in the hell that is Gaza. They are still there because of Benjamin Netanyahu. After 400 days, it is time to clearly state on every stage and every media outlet, the war in Gaza must end and all our hostages must be brought home.
Qatar withdrawing is, for us, is a chaos because they were the lead connection to the Hamas leadership in Qatar and the Hamas leadership in Gaza. And now without them, we don't know who's going to be in charge of this.
A hostage relative called on President-elect Donald Trump during the rally to use his influence and save the hostages even before he takes office in January.
The Israeli government gave up on the hostages, and you, the incoming President of the United States, are their and our last hope.
Even though Trump has repeatedly vowed during his campaign to make a swift end to the Gaza and Lebanon war, it's not an easy fix. And now with Qatar halting its mediation role and no replacement lined up, a hostage deal seems further out of reach than ever.
We're joined once again by Lieutenant Colonel in the Reserves, Eyal Jor, former IDF officer and founder and commander of the Good Neighbor Campaign. Here we are, have gone on such a journey together as a nation, trying to support the hostage families as they're now marking 401 days. So this news not very optimistic for the hostage negotiations.
First of all, as every Israeli, as every human being, my heart goes for our 101 hostages. Regarding to Qatar and to the statement, whether it's good or bad for them, I just want that all of us will remember that Qatar chose to support Hamas by Al Jazeera, for example. Qatar had the ability to put a lot of pressure on Hamas leaders. I will just remind that Khaled Mashal, Khalil Khaya, all of them are living and being hosted in the fancy hotels of Qatar. Qatar chose to be on the wrong side of the history. Qatar could have done much more, I'm sure of that. Qatar could have done much, much more as a moderate in this negotiation, and they chose not to do. Qatar want that Hamas will continue to survive. They even do not bother to hide that. I just also a question why they just now decided to take that action. Maybe it's something in order to become in a better position with the new administration, for example. And I do believe that if Qatar will not came again into the game, and I do believe that they didn't say the last word in that, they will not skip very easily about their position. I'm sure that it will be able to find another player. I remind that also the Egyptians are on this game, and who knows, maybe other players which will be more objective to the both sides can take this opportunity and try to solve this tragedy, human tragedy.
All right, thank you very much. I will be back with you in a moment. We're now going to turn to the north, where rockets and drones continuing to be fired into northern Israel today as the war against Hezbollah continues. I24 News correspondent Zach Anders is live in northern Israel with the latest there. Good evening, Zach.
Hi, good evening, Emily. Within the last few minutes, we've been tracking what appears to be another drone infiltration into the Haifa area. What has been changed in the attempts to make these drones less successful over the course of this war. The drones have been by far the most difficult of these aerial targets for air defenses here to try and intercept. Well, the counter we've seen over the last several weeks has been deploying helicopters, attack helicopters, essentially keeping them in the air around the border to try and intercept these drones. And we're getting some images out of Haifa within the last few minutes that shows what appears to be attack helicopters targeting something in the air. Very well could be a drone. We don't have any reports from this last red alarm into the Haifa area of any casualties on the ground, although today has been a day with casualties on the ground just north of Haifa and Nahariya. We know of at least 3 who were wounded by earlier attacks. Across Lebanon, noted strikes in Beirut once again. There's been strikes all across Lebanon, in the east as well. But within the last few hours, initial reports of strikes in Damascus, Syria, the capital city of Syria. What we've noted in the past is that the IDF has been allegedly targeting Hezbollah infrastructure, potentially even IRGC infrastructure, some buildings, facilities in and around the capital city, in particular, some specific suburbs that are known to host IRGC and Hezbollah facilities, at least in the past. What is different about this strike, it appears to be on an apartment complex on a higher floor, and the damage is rather limited to what appears to be a specific apartment building, so potentially targeting a high-value target rather than the facilities themselves. That'll be something to watch out for, as right now the chatter on Arabic media citing a Saudi channel is that one of those targeted here potentially was a man wanted by the U.S. and by Lebanese authorities as well for the killing of the Lebanese prime minister back in, I believe it was 2005, when the prime minister there was assassinated. The International Criminal Court issuing a ruling convicting him in absentia, and essentially since that 2005-2006 ruling, he's been on the run, and Hezbollah has been sheltering him. So that's the initial chatter. I'll stress these are just initial reports right now, and they're not coming from the U.S. or the Israeli side. This is coming from Arabic media sources claiming that he was the intended target and has been killed. But again, initial reports, and often when it's coming through Lebanese channels, it proves 50-50 sometimes whether or not it proves true. So something to watch out for, certainly, as these cross-border attacks persist, but at a much lower pace and intensity than what we've noted over the last several weeks. Today has been relatively localized to just a few attacks. Emily.
All right, thank you very much. I24 News correspondent Zach Anders, and we're returning once again by Lieutenant Colonel in the reserves, Eyal Dror, to comment, on this. Obviously, rockets and drones showing, no signs of slowing down. What does this tell us?
Emily, just in order to continue what Zach finished with, the person was Salem Ayash, which was very wanted also to the U.S., and I do believe that this is the guy that has been eliminated now by the current attack of the IDF. Regarding to the Hezbollah and the clashes, well, I do believe that we have to look about the consequences of the IDF, and we can also look at the numbers. Hezbollah is continue trying, of course, to cause the damage, but the number of the missiles that they can launch is a little bit in decrease. It means that in the beginning it was like 400 to 300 missiles every day. Today it was a week ago, 200. Today I do believe it's like something around 150, 120. So I do see that it is a little bit decreasing. Of course, that as long there is one terrorist from Hezbollah and one rocket, they will continue to shoot. But I do believe that the IDF continue with its mission. The first stage of that mission is almost been finished. It means to take over about all the terror facilities on the 2 to 3 miles from the Israeli border to Lebanon, which was the basis of Hezbollah in order to make their plan of invading Israel. This was the first stage, and it almost been accomplished. And now Israel, of course, is looking forward whether it will be the next stage or it will be some negotiation. But I'm just, if you allow me to suggest to your audience, to look about what is going on the internal arena in Lebanon. I think that it is very important for the people in the West to look at Lebanon and to see how the people of Lebanon, the Christian, the Druze, the Muslim Sunnis, are looking on Hezbollah. I remind you that those people were totally afraid from Hezbollah for 30 years. And now it's very common to see on social media people who are claiming against Hezbollah, respectable people, parliament members even, who is talking about the new reality of Lebanon the days after. They claim that Hezbollah must take out all of its weapons. Those are sides, those are voices that we haven't seen and heard from Lebanon 45 days ago. And I do believe that it is something that all of us should be very aware for that, because it might reflect, or in fact, a new era in Lebanon, which will, of course, made it a new era in the Middle East. The weakness of Hezbollah is something that we all should be understanding. And again, they will continue to shoot the missiles. They have plenty more. I do believe this is not the most important question. The important question is what is Hezbollah's situation in Lebanon and against Israel, and I do believe that it is bad.
All right, thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel in the Reserves, Eyal Dror. Much appreciated.